16 drivers make their way into the playoffs. You know what time it is now. Every single one will compete for the 2022 championship. 4 will be eliminated every 3 weeks. Let's get started. Alright, so for each round, I'll tell you the bottom 4 I think get eliminated. And then when it comes to the champion, I'll let you know who I think it will be out of the final 4. So let's jump right on into it, starting with the round of 16. First one out, of course, is Chase Briscoe. After winning at Phoenix, he got a pole at Atlanta, costed Tyler Reddick the win at Bristol, got his last top 10 of the year at the Coke 600 at Charlotte, and then got his second pole of the year at Gateway. He led 27 laps there, but ever since then, he not only has he yet to score a single top 10 since the 600, but he's also yet to lead more than 10 laps since Gateway. It has been a slow decline for Briscoe, as over time he slowly loses his positions, occasionally regains a couple just to lose them again. What was, at first, at the start of the year, a promising season for him to potentially be a dark horse to be a championship threat, he clearly is the second weakest link at Stewart-Haas behind Cole Custer. I'd say Briscoe's Chevy equivalency is Alex Bowman. After winning at Vegas, he had such a consistent stretch until the Charlotte 600. Then after that, he only got one top 10 for the next 12 weeks. He also got 4 DNFs and has yet to lead a single lap since Dover. In total, he has just 29 laps led and only 10 top 10s. He's definitely the weakest link at Hendrick, but he does have a long-term contract, so he's definitely going to be around for a while. Hopefully he can prove upon, but this year is definitely not going to be Bowman's, and I would be shocked if he makes it past the round of 16. Once again, another Hendrick driver that isn't at 100 is Byron. Another early favorite, after getting his second win of the year at Martinsville, which was his first multi-win season this year, everyone thought he was going to be a championship favorite. He even was as high as second. Then the Coke 600 happened, and the tables turned, and he's been on a downward spiral. Although he's currently 5th, that's entirely due to the points reset, and I doubt he can stay there, as he has just 5 top 10s for the entire year. The only reason I think he is in the top 5 is because he's led an impressive 612 laps. But looking at his statistics, the last time he scored a top 10 was all the way back at Sonoma. It's been 10 weeks since he scored a top 10, and I feel like his consistency of being inconsistent is going to continue, and I doubt that he'll make it past the round of 16. Cindric. Well, as much as I like Austin Cindric, I feel like misfortune is going to cost him a chance, but it is really coin flip odds between him and, in my opinion, Austin Dillon. Cindric, of course, is the defending Daytona 500 champion and is definitely going to win Rookie of the Year, but that wasn't a tall order. I expected him to point himself in or be the best of the rest, but this year has actually been fairly consistent for him. He only has 4 DNFs, and if he's ever involved in an accident, he is never the cause, often caught in the crossfires. At the same time, though, he only has 8 top 10s and just 80 laps led the entire season. Unspectacular, but definitely not something to shy upon. Of course, he is the defending Daytona 500 champion. While he is the weakest link at Penske, he certainly isn't a bad driver, and if he doesn't get eliminated in the first round, I won't be shocked. 3 drivers that blew their potential at the start of the year and a rookie. Yeah, I pretty much expected that. Now we go into the round of 12 eliminations. If anyone says that they weren't rooting for Daniel Suarez at Sonoma, they're a liar. I definitely am not a proud Suarez fan. I'm more of an RCR guy myself, but I knew his hardships that he'd faced. I thought his career was dead, and it was happy to see a nice guy finally come into victory lane. That being said, though, Suarez and Trackhouse as a whole kind of blew all of their bets at the start of the year. They have 3 wins in the first half, none in the second, and after locking in both their guys, they kind of stopped caring that much. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not still championship threats. Maybe they were just waiting until it really mattered to finally be competitive, but I feel like Suarez's consistency has gotten him as far as it will. He definitely will not be a first-round elimination, but he is definitely not a championship favorite, and I feel like the consistency he's had this year is only going to get him so far, and for me, that's the round of 12. Okay, I may be biased with this one, but hear me out. Austin Dillon has had plenty of chances to steal wins here, and he finally broke through at Daytona. That being said, he only has 8 top 10s and just 18 laps led the year, but I have one case to prove. 2020. Now, that year has definitely been his best statistical one. He got his third win of the year at Texas, and he came out of nowhere to blow through into the round of 12. But Dillon's best points finish has been 11th. So while I think he can definitely make it past the first round, I think the round of 12 will be where things change up. And I think the Roval will be what costs him. Still, I think Dillon is definitely not going to be a first round out. He's definitely not a contender, but I think he will definitely give a good chunk of guys a run for their money, especially at Talladega. If you thought Blaney won this year, he did, but it was at the All-Star race, so it doesn't matter. Ryan Blaney, the only driver that's going to make it in without a win this year, has been fairly consistent, respectable, but he also has no wins. 8 top 5s, 12 top 10s, and 417 laps led. Now, as much as I think he's definitely a skilled driver, he doesn't have a win. And points can only take you so far. He definitely is going to need a win. So, in my opinion, he's either going to pull a Denny Hamlin last year, where he makes his way in off of points, wins his way into the next round, and becomes a championship contender, or he doesn't, and he's out in the round of 12. Definitely not a first-round elimination, but points can only take you so far. Denny Hamlin's 2 wins came at the 600, an endurance race where honestly anyone can win as long as they throw the dice right, and Richmond, aka the most boring racetrack of the year. Hamlin has had the worst average finish in a long time for him so far, with an average finish of 19.0. He can improve that, but he probably won't, considering there's only 10 weeks to go. What's even more sad, though, is that it is literally twice as much as his average finish from the last few seasons, where it was 8 point something. On top of this, he only has 7 top 10s for the entire year. When it seemed as though he was finally going to make history at Pocono, he got his points deduction, so that might be why. But still, Hamlin's season has been extremely disappointing. And while he gets in on a win, he's definitely not going to be a first-round elimination. I would be not too shocked if he gets out in the round of 12. His season has been extremely underwhelming, and it's shocking to see how poor his performance has been this year. We're now in the round of 8, and now that all the pretenders are out, the eliminations are going to get pretty difficult, but alas, we need to make a decision. The 2022 season has been an off-season for Truex, who missed the playoffs, Hamlin, whose average finish has been twice as bad compared to his last 2 seasons, and Busch, whose downward spiral continues. But Bell is the one driver that's actually improving. He got win number 2 at Loudon, which he honestly should have won last year as well, and he's been fairly consistent. 14 top 10s, 262 laps led, and only 4 DNFs. Bell definitely is a force to be reckoned with, but it can only take him so far. He definitely is going to be a contender, and as much as I like him, I don't think that he can be a Final Four threat yet. Now, if he can pull off a multi-win season, win a couple more stages, I think he can definitely be a championship threat, but right now, I think the round of 8 is his limit. I'm just going to say it. Kyle Busch shouldn't be in the playoffs this year. Truex should have gotten in off of points. He's been much more consistent, and the only reason Kyle's in is because he was at the right place at the right time in Bristol dirt. That being said, though, he is definitely not a bad driver, and this year has not been a bad season. 13 top 10s, 470 laps led, and he currently sits 11th so far. It's definitely been the worst season he's had since his title. The past 2 seasons have had him make it into the round of 8 and then get eliminated. He's definitely a championship threat, but he can never get the final 3 races right for him to get locked into the Final 4. He's not washed up or anything, but this is just his 4th win since his 2019 title, and he doesn't seem to get improving. On top of this, he's in the hot seat, and internal issues, while they may be starting to get resolved, might continue to affect his performance. I expected him to make it this far, and if he makes it into the Final 4, I won't be too shocked, but round of 8 is where I see Kyle Busch getting out. Larson's season has been anything but bad. 2 wins is nothing to shy away from, but considering his 10-win season last year, it's kind of a little underwhelming. But still, did we really expect him to be a back-to-back champion? I feel like Lady Luck is going to deal Larson a bad hand. To no fault of his own, when Martinsville comes, something bad's going to happen, and it's going to take him out. On top of that, I feel like there's been 4 drivers this year that have been much better than Larson. And I feel like he's barely going to slip away, missing that opportunity just by an inch. That or his engine's going to give out and he's going to lose it by like 20 laps. But either way, I don't think he's making it into the Final Four. Ross Chastain has definitely been the most aggressive driver this year. Go ahead, try and name every single person he's rattled the cage of. Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, basically everyone, honestly. Ross has made himself a big public target, not just with the drivers, but with the fans as well. And on top of this, ever since his Talladega win, while he has been consistent, he hasn't been up to par as much as he was at the first half of the year since Loudon. That was the last top 10 that he scored, and since then, it's kind of been a downward slope. He's had his moments, but he's just never had the finish to show his efforts. Still, he is definitely going to be a championship threat and is the number one guy at Trackhouse. Fitting, considering he's the one, but considering how many enemies he's made this year, one of them is definitely going to finally get their revenge and is going to cost Chastain a shot at the title. It doesn't matter if you have a chance to get into the Final Four, it just matters how you got there. And Ross has made too many enemies. And with that, there's one race to go. And now we're going to crown ourselves a champion at Phoenix. Let's go. Harvick is out for revenge this year, in my opinion. After being called washed up for 22 weeks, he finally gets his back-to-back at Michigan and Richmond, and now is a championship favorite. I think he makes the Final Four. I think cool consistency is what gets him in, and then finally a win. Harvick probably, in my opinion, is going to push too hard. He probably sees his enemy as the regular season champion, Chase Elliott. And I feel like he's going to die trying to chase down the 9 car, but he isn't going to take himself out, in my opinion. I think Harvick is going to take out Chase Elliott in the midst of his hunt, and it's just going to be violent. Elliott is definitely the championship favorite, and finally is his year to prove himself as not just a Mickey winner, but a worthy contender for championship. He's won at Dover, Nashville, Atlanta, and Pocono this year, and is the only driver with 4 wins. He is definitely the favorite in the eyes of many and is NASCAR's most popular driver. So, of course, a lot of people are going to say he's the favorite. But the favorite rarely ever gets the title with the 16-man chase, and I feel like Harvick is going to die trying to take out Elliott. And while he may wreck his own car, I think he wrecks out that Napa Chevy as well. As good as Logano's season's been, he's going to be anything but the guy everyone's talking about when we get to Phoenix. Joey Logano is probably going to get himself in with a win, but with Harvick and Elliott's rivalry coming in, and the underdog that is Tyler Reddick, in my opinion, taking the headlines, Logano's going to have one opportunity probably to take the lead, miss it, fall back, and come home with a silver medal. That's about it. He's had a good year. He'll walk home with a good finish to show his efforts. Half of this is wishful thinking, half of this is reasonable, but Tyler Reddick's first round is definitely going to be an easy one. Darlington and Kansas are 2 of his best tracks. Next week, he wins his way in at the Roval. Coming into the Final Four, he points his way in. He watches as Harvick and Elliott wreck each other out. The 2 favorites for the title are out. Reddick takes the lead. Logano's a no-show. It's all Reddick's to take, and all he needs to do is finish in the front. And as he takes home his 4th victory of the year, he walks home as the champion of NASCAR. Is this wishful thinking? Oh yeah, you bet. Is it likely? Oh yeah, you bet. It's the playoffs, so anything can go. And I feel like Harvick's greed to try and get the title and get even with Elliott is going to cost both of them their shot at the title. Logano, like I said, is a no-show. And Reddick swoops in like a falcon to take what's his, the title. Richard Childress is going to get his first championship in decades. And it's going to come with Tyler Reddick as one last farewell gift before he moves over to 23XI Racing. So anyways, yeah, that's my prediction for the playoffs. Do you agree? Yeah, probably not. Your favorite driver didn't win, but if your favorite driver did pretty well, you agree with it, you don't, leave a comment. I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear your prediction as well, and if you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm hoping to get to 100 by the end of the year. And with that, until next time. Losers, Richard Childress is champions of the NASCAR Cup Series.